Whether you call them twin needles or double needles, on the Pfaff Creative 3.0 sewing machine, you can do a lot by adding a needle that has two needles. So whether you're doing just straight stitching and maybe wanting pin tucks, or doing what I'm going to show you is with decorative stitches, you can take all the stitches that are in this machine and make them look totally different. So a couple things about twin needles. Number one, when you put one of these on the machine, this machine will have a place in the settings that you can go and tell the machine what size of needle you're using. So if I put a 2.0 needle on, then when I pick a stitch, it'll actually show me what that stitch is going to look like as a doubled up stitch. So look, it's what you see is what you get. I love it. So if I like that look, I know I can just go ahead and stitch it. Maybe that's not what I was looking for. Maybe we'll find a different one. But look, you can also adjust length. You can adjust width. You can change the stitch, but what's nice is it won't let you go beyond the presser foot where it's going to break. So on this Pfaff, the width of the stitching area is 9 millimeters. So when you put a 2.0 double needle on, or twin needle, it limits the stitch to 7. So 9 minus 2 equals 7. That's why I couldn't go any higher there, and it kind of beeped at me. I do like, though, that if I set a twin needle in the settings and I turn the machine off, it will remember, it'll come up with a little message say, hey, by the way, you have your machine set for a 2.0 twin needle, either turn it off or keep stitching and you'll be safe. Also shows you right up at the top of the screen the twin needle picture, so that's kind of fun. But look, your decorative stitches can all be done with twin needles. So as you pick stitches, oh, they're unlimited. So give them a try and see what look that you can come up with. So the reason I'm going to put the smallest size in is because you're going to get more bang for your buck when it comes to decorative stitches. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See, this is for 2.0. If we go into twin needle, set it for 4.0, the stitches are more parallel to each other. They're more side to side. When you have a closer together twin needle, you almost get this integrated like twisting of the two stitches together because they're closer, they overlap. So next up, we're going to show you the trick for threading a twin needle. So number one, I am going to leave, I know this one says 1A. I've got the 2A foot on just because there might be a stitch that I might pick that needs it for right now. So we're going to add our second spool of thread up here, and I'm unthreading my first thread. The reason for it is because I want to be able to control when these threads come down through the tension area. So after you go across the back part here, this first groove, that's where your tensions are. And if you look close, there's a little fin right here. If you kind of stand up and peek down in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm separating the two threads. I'm putting one on one side and one on the other. This way, each thread will get its own tension disc. So I'm going to give it a little pull, a little flossy floss. That's going to make sure both threads get all the way down in the tension area completely. Next, when you go to put a twin needle on, you are going to notice that your needle threader will not line up with, with the needle. So you are on your own for threading your two needles. And here's just another little tip. When you look at a package and it says 2.0/80, 80 is the size of the two needles. So if you are using a really thick thread, you are going to probably need a bigger needle. See where it says size 3.0, size 90? That's going to be a bigger eye, bigger groove for thicker thread. So make sure you're not using too thick of a thread for the needle that you're actually working with. So here we go. See how the eyes are working this morning. There's one. And it doesn't matter which thread goes in which needle. Now, there is a handheld needle threader, as I'm thinking about that right now. I should have one of those close by. That if you have trouble threading your needles, there are ways to have it be easier since we can't use the one that's actually on the machine right now. So usually I recommend that you start off with just a straight stitch. I'm really curious what this stitch is going to look like. So, and I know I probably threaded it correctly, so I'm going to just go ahead and stitch this first. Usually you sew a straight stitch, just make sure everything's looking good, flowing smoothly, you threaded it right. I usually sew at a little slower speed, so I'm not just racing down. I mean, we have 2 threads in here, still 1 bobbin though. That's kind of fun. But the nice thing is as you go ahead and go through your machine, because you set the limitations, you can go ahead and just pick your stitch, and the machine will automatically narrow that stitch down for you, so you don't have any problem sewing or making the stitch too big. That would lead to the breaking of the needle. All right, so we're going to let's go ahead and touch the thread snips. You can use your thread snips with a twin needle. It has no problem. We're just cutting the bobbin as well. And then let's take a look. Well, maybe I cut a little bit on that. All right, we'll pull that out. Okay, so let's take a look. Isn't that amazing? Totally different stitch whatsoever. I can tell that if I took all the time to sew out your decorative stitches, which we've talked about, then you turned around and stitched them all out again with a twin needle. And since we saw that twin needles look different depending on what size you put in, the possibilities are endless. So as long as you remember to tell the machine that you put it on, and then of course when you're done using it, go ahead and return it to the off setting, and now it'll stitch all the way to the full width of your stitching area. So since I turned it off, I am going to go ahead and take out my twin needle and get reset back to just a single needle for our next video.